Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ZutaZuta Coaching. We've just had a Steam Autumn sale. Sadly, it is now over, but the ESO population is doing pretty good. And now that the weekend has rolled around once again, I thought it would be good to get some longer videos up on the channel. That's what I've been trying to do on the weekends now. But this will be the final weekend of coaching videos before we return to normal gameplay. So my apologies if this is not for you. Not your cup of tea, so to speak. I do apologize. Don't worry, plenty of gameplay to come. But to anyone who is looking to get back into the game, or is enjoying it so far, or to anyone who is just interested in listening, here we do have the entire ZutaZuta German collection from his time coaching. So this video, a great way to pick up a civ, and a civ without muskets. A civ that much prefers to be in the Fortress Age, and I think once you get a feel for the game, you know, with some other civs, there's a lot of value in moving on to and learning the Germans. That is because this civ, very rewarding if you can execute a build order well. And maybe that's true for all civs once you get to a competitive level, but I think Germans in particular, new players and people who play German will get really good at executing strategies. Like all the timings and all of the villager movements and just everything needs to be much tighter and much cleaner when playing the Germans. I think playing the Germans just instills that into you. And that is partly because you have to go up to Fortress all of the time. It's such a key part of playing the Civ. But also the Uhlans that you get for free and utilizing them in the most effective way. That's important. And, you know, they are a much more punishing unit to have to handle because they have low HP. You got to be more careful with them in the fights. And also just randomly losing them to musket fire if you happen to walk past the wrong barracks. So I think German's just a good civ to learn once you've already picked something up. So I'd recommend starting with France or Japan, as I mentioned in the previous coaching videos. But then German, definitely a lot of value in picking the civ up, I think. Enjoy the video.
The game for this week is going to be a game submitted by Grow74. It's called Grow74, Game for Zuta. And his question was, what can he do better? He's just looking for general gameplay improvements. He is, I believe, playing Germany against Japan in this game. I haven't watched this game yet, so this is my first instinct on this. Indeed, he is playing Germany. So I'm going to pause the game right at the start. I just want to take a quick look around at the map. In general, for what I do with this, I'm just trying to look to help people improve. So we'll be watching from Grow's perspective, the German player. Let's just quick check what civ he is against. He is against the Japanese player, so I was correct. One other thing to note is the map is New England, which is can potentially be a tricky map for this matchup, just due to the fact that your hunts can sometimes be a little wonky. But let's see what happens here. Grow playing the German civilization, and here we go. So starting by herd. I mean, you got a herd, right? Like, that's fine. Ooh, where's this settler wagon going? Like, this settler wagon's been walking a long ways, and he's not actually doing anything. Walked a little bit extra there. Still haven't queued up a villager yet. Like, you should have a villager in queue with your first 100 resources. A little bit of idle time here. All of these things are just things that are burning your time. It could be improved. But I guess that's not too big of a deal. Just try and improve those things, right? Like, that just comes with being comfortable with the civ. The map was New England. Your hunts were pretty far away to start with, so you're going to have to herd very well to get those herded. I think this is a little bit of a mistake. I can see your town center is way pointed over to this deer to the right-hand side here. I think this first villager should be popping out on this top side and should be starting to herd this hunt. Just due to the fact that, I mean, you always want to be herding as much as possible with normal settlers and not settler wagons, just because you don't want to be herding with 2 population worth of villagers. So I think this guy should be popping out over here to the north side, just so that you can herd this hunt back here, so that you can start to get that working towards your base. And we'll see whether or not that actually ends up mattering. You should definitely, I mean, you definitely will want this hunt underneath your town center before you start aging. Your herding in general has not been very good here. I mean, you just, like, haven't shot it again like in a long time. So work on your herding. That definitely could be improved. Like this, there's no reason for this not to be underneath your town center. You can see like the animals starting to wander around a little bit. Like you should have. Okay, there you herded it. But you could have had that herding and had like a dead deer underneath your town center already for your villagers to pop out on immediately. So there's that. You can micro this treasure. Feel free to kite that. Oh, got him bugged around the trees a little bit. That's nice. That's annoying. Nothing you can do about that. Like dude shows up. Hopefully you get the treasure still. Kill it. Get it. Oh, he got it. That's annoying. Turn radius there. Like that's a pretty high level thing though to like to comment on like the turn radius of your scout and whether or not that would have actually mattered. It sucks that he got it, but that's more just a bad luck thing than oh shit. Your house is a building. Okay, you noticed it. It's just a bit of a bad luck thing, though. So two things here. I mean, I'm going to turn back on the thing. So we're like 2 minutes into this game, and the two things that I've noticed immediately that are really important is one, your herding has been pretty poor. Your herding, like, there's no reason for you to be herding to have guys way out here. Like, you should have this hunt up underneath your town center, and this one should be working its way towards your town center as well. Like, there's no reason not to have both of those hunts right underneath your town center at this point in the game. That's a pretty big mistake. Your house was a little delayed. Your house is in an okay spot at the very least. 2 settler wagons, that looks fine. Still, like, you're not herding. Like, that's the thing that bothers me the most is just your lack of herding. Like, these hunts are running way too much. Like, this is going to be a big problem. Imagine if Japan builds a shrine out here as well and like starts taking out like your second hunts. Like that's going to be so annoying to deal with. Could be really detrimental. Like look at how far these hunts have like started to wander. That's actually a really big deal. And they even went the wrong way. So like this is like the first thing that you can really improve that will like gain you like 10 PR. Like seriously, if you can just get it to the point where your villagers aren't walking around this much and they're just like gathering right underneath your town center the whole time, like that's plus 10 PR right there. Just getting control of these hunts because like now you've just like had to spend so much time walking in transition, like right, like you're probably going to do some sort of like semi-FF or whatever, so you're going to have to like walk villagers over to your coin mine and they're going to have to walk from all the way over here all the way to over here instead of like popping in the town center and then over to the coin mine. So that's a long bit of walking there as well. Stuff like that really adds up in the early game, especially with a civ like Germany where you have 5 settler wagons, which are like really important to be controlling really well. So also your second hunt hasn't like it's wandered completely out of sight. Like I would be very fearful that this is going to get shrined at some point in the very near future. And there goes like the long migration that I was talking about, like right, settler wagons, like having to make that long trip all the way over there to that coin mine is pretty annoying. Looks like maybe you're going to herd here. That would be good. Definitely would be worthwhile. I'm going to comment a little bit on your build here. I don't want to hound on builds too much, but in general, like you should be chopping wood with purpose with Germans, and this doesn't feel like you're chopping wood with purpose. You've just like randomly got like 2 settler wagons chopping wood. You should either be chopping wood for a market and market upgrades, or you should be chopping wood for a trading post. But like 2 settler wagons just randomly chopping wood because like you think you should be chopping wood isn't what you should be chopping wood for with Germans. So chop wood with purpose. That would be another thing that I would comment on. This hunt still is bothering me, but I mean, I've mentioned that enough times. This hunt still, like, herd it more. Herd. Every, like, 7 seconds you can shoot those guys. Get them, like, right up next to your town center. Uh-oh. There's a scout over here. He's building shrines. Your second hunt's going to get shrined. It looks like you're doing some sort of FF, maybe some sort of semi-FF. There comes a market. Like, you could have had that market up a long time ago if you would have been chopping wood with a purpose, like I mentioned. You're not chopping wood with a purpose. Like, it feels like you don't really know what you want to do. It's still not hurting your hunt here. Built a market, but haven't gotten any upgrades. I hope. Okay, so that's a bit awkward. So notice one thing you just did here. You just sent like a villager that was like gathering over here, all the way back over here to build houses, which is in general not that good. One thing you want to try and avoid doing is having villagers like just walk around a lot in general. So let's think about like the pathing that your villagers have taken. Let's take this settler wagon. Let's just assume like that, or this villager. Let's assume this villager was like the first villager you trained, right? And so he's walked out here. He's hunted some. He's shot some hunts. He's like wandered around out here a little bit trying to herd some hunts. And then he's walked over here to this tree. He started gathering on this tree. And then he's walking over here. He's going to build this house, walk over here, build this house. And then maybe he'll like go back to chopping wood on one of these trees, or walk over to this coin mine, or like walk way the hell back up here and start herding this hunt, which may or may not have a shrine coming up on it. Nope, not yet. But in general, that villager has taken like a big long journey of just like wandering all over the map. Whereas if you had herded your hunts effectively, it would have gone like from town center to hunt to town center to coin mine to town center to tree. Like, you could have like centralized your entire economy like in this little box basically. But instead of having your economy in this box, your economy is in this box, which is far less efficient with just like in terms of like how much your villagers are walking. Just think, how much do you want your villagers walking? Do you want them walking like realistically? This is the entire distance that your villagers should have to travel this game. This encompasses your coin mine on the left, plenty of trees to gather all the wood you would need for market upgrades, trading posts, anything like that. And assuming your herding is good, all of your hunts can fit in that box as well. So you could have all of your villagers not have to travel outside of this box for the first like 7 minutes of the game, which is like really, really good. But instead, your villagers are confined to this size of a box, which is a lot more room for error, a lot more room for taking pressure from raids, a lot more vision that you have to, like, you just have to be moving your camera around a lot more to be able to manage this. And so it's a lot more difficult just to like see stuff in general. So try and centralize everything as much as possible. Okay, here you're gonna go herding. This looks like that looks like a shrine to me. Nope, not yet. They're just standing in a goofy. Oh no! And then you shot them the wrong way. You're also pop capped here, which naturally isn't good. Looks like you're going to fix that here momentarily. Do have your stable coming up, have hunting dogs. At least you're getting some upgrades using your market. That's good. It's still so much, like, your villagers are just walking around so much, like spending so much time walking around. Like, look at, now let's take into consideration the size of that box. That box stretches from here all the way down to here. In which point I would still argue that box could be right here. So that's one illustration that I think is actually really good. Would you rather have your villagers gathering from this box or from a box that stretches from here all the way to here? And I think anyone could reasonably assume that gathering all your villagers in a box this size is going to be much better. You've trained Cav. Those Cavs should immediately be doing something, whether it's sieging a shrine or scouting. Like, you haven't really seen what he's doing aside from building a barracks. Could be applying some raid pressure. Hopefully you move forward there. Your card order is good. I think you've gone two settler wagon, 3 settler wagon, 700 coin. Let's hope you don't actually go expo poik like your deck suggests and are aging up. Just made a couple Ashigaros. That's fine. Like, he's gonna make Ashies. It's gonna be difficult to raid Japan anyways. Especially this guy's built his buildings fairly wisely. It's gonna be difficult to actually get into raiding down. The important thing here is to try to not lose these Cavs so that you have these Cav moving forward to the next stage. Still not hurting a lot in your base. I don't think you've built steel traps. You have an awkward as hell amount of wood. Like, it feels like you just don't know what you're going to do with this wood. So try and be more consistent with your wood gathering. You did make him bell all of his villagers, which is good. Just try and make sure you don't lose these. As long as you don't lose these, like, this has been pretty good. Losing one's fine, but keeping as many hit points on these as possible is also good. The box grows in size. Look at the size of the box of your villagers now. It's like, it encompasses like this whole area. It's like really, really big. Aging up, aging with the marksman. Don't know that that's necessarily good. 6 skirms, age up is okay. This wall's unneeded. The thing about aging with the marksman is, like, you have resources. Like, you could have had a trading post now. If you had a trading post with Germany, which you definitely should have by this point, you would want to be aging fast, because then you could be shipping like 8 skirms, 7 skirms, stuff like that. You would have like shipments in bank. But because you don't have a trading post, you don't have a shipment to send, and so you're probably thinking, well, I can age up slow because I don't have a shipment. And that's in general true. If you don't have a shipment to send, like, you might as well age up a little bit slower. But the reason you don't have a shipment to send is because you don't have any trading posts. These walls, especially against Japan, are a complete waste of villager seconds. Never build a wall like this. Like, this wall's not accomplishing anything. Like, Japan's not going to raid you from over on this side, right? Like, if Japan is raiding you from over here, like, you've already won the game. So, like, that wall is just a waste of wood and villager seconds at this point. This one is arguably maybe a little better, but still I would say is not worthwhile. The Cavs still being pesky. You're still doing an okay job of denying your opponent from gathering from his coin mine. That's pretty good. As long as you, like I said, continue to not lose those. Be careful with them. You don't want to lose them. They are dwindling in numbers. Well, now you're starting to lose them a bit carelessly. Rax is up. Villagers are idle. And from this point, like, I mean, you've done some okay stuff. Like, you've denied your opponent some gather time, stuff like that. But, I mean, he's Japan. Like, what has he got? He's up to 120 Shrine Pop. He's probably got Heavenly Kami. He's sent 4 Vill. He's sent 600 wood a couple times. Like, he's in a pretty good spot. He's got basically all of your next hunt shrined up, which is going to be impossible to deal with fairly soon. You may still be, like, I don't know, maybe you'll be okay here, but still looking a bit tough. I feel like you may just, like, get out a bunch more ashes and just kill you. This trading post is about 6 minutes late. That should have been coming up in transition, and that comes back to, like, chopping wood with a purpose. Like, in transition to the second age, you just, like, randomly had 2 guys chopping wood. Like, if you would have put, like, 6 guys on wood and then just built a trading post, you could have had this trading post a long time ago. Oh, look, that shrine did pop up in your second hunt. This is your second hunt, well, maybe even arguably your first hunt, by the way, that he's got a shrine on, like, 2 screens away from your town center. Like, that just can't be allowed to happen. Okay. Well, this is a huge issue, and this is maybe the biggest issue of them all so far. We call it the fast fortress age because you get to the 3rd age and you send fortress aged units, not because you get to the fortress aged and send a fort. This fort will do precisely nothing. Best case scenario, you get it down in, like, a super aggressive position, like down here or something, and Japan continues to make units and doesn't leave his base. Worst case scenario, like, you die before it even becomes relevant, but likely scenario, it ends up, like, in a place right here, accomplishing nothing and being a glorified barracks that you already have. I mean, you've already sunk resources into defending this choke. You don't need to sink more resources. If this was 8 skirms, you'd be in a lot scarier of a position, but it's not 8 skirms, and it's a fort, and your timing pressure here is not going to be scary. It's just going to allow Japan to continue to mass units. He might get aged up. Maybe he just continues to mass units, but definitely don't need a fort. Like, take that out of your deck. If you're, I would just remove that. Like, and just, you should be 100% sending 8 skirms right now. Like, that is definitely what you should be sending. Training skirms, your composition, yeah, this is, like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if that gets up, like, it doesn't really matter. He's got a lot of ashes, which are, I mean, not the greatest against your composition, but he's got enough of them that it's probably just going to work. Picking off some, oh no, we've got no anti-cav. I mean, from this point, like, Japan's just Japan. Like, even if it's not a high-level Japan, like, this is why a lot of, like, lower-level players find Japan difficult to deal with, right? Because, like, he's still generating resources just because he's built shrines. He's not spending his resources the most effectively, but he's still generating a lot of resources just because he's Japan, and he knows he's supposed to ship villagers and build shrines, and as a result of that, like, he's still found himself in an okay spot, so... I can see the issue here. You're not going to have any hunts because you didn't herd especially well. You're running out of resources. Even your coin mines are starting to look a little thin. He's got a lot of ashes, and I think, like, this is probably where you're just going to, like, run out of steam, and he's going to be Japan, and you're going to be Germany with not a lot going for him. Like, here again, you're sending Royal Mint. Like, how many villagers do you have gathering coin? You have 7 villagers on coin. Like, you don't need Royal Mint right now. Like, you need units. You need 8 skirm, 7 skirm. You have them in your deck. You have the scary units that you need in your deck. You just haven't sent them. So definitely send military units over the fort and stuff. And, like, you maybe still could have still even won, or still could win if you had 8 skirm, 7 skirm. In fact, you probably would be winning if you had 8 skirm, 7 skirm here. But you don't, and, like, he's probably got a whole, like, yeah, he's just got so many more units than you. He's just been training units, and you haven't. Like, he maybe has even, like, sent, like, unit shipments and stuff. No unit shipments. But he definitely has more units than you do, which, when you're FFing with Germany, is not something you want to allow to happen. Resources are a little out of whack here. Yeah, and I think you're just going to get caught out here. Like, he's definitely got a better army than you have. Yep, your army's dead. And I mean, with how much of the replay is left, I would guess you just resign here. Like, I mean, you're pretty far behind, yeah. You don't have any hunts because he's shrined them up. So, that's the end of the game. So, let's do a quick recap of the biggest things that I think you can improve from this game. One, remember this box that I was talking about, and try and keep as much of your early economy and your villager movements inside that box as possible. The less you have to run your villagers around in the early portion of the game, the stronger your economy is going to be. The box that you could have had in this game should have been about this big. That encompassed your coin mine on the left, enough trees to get a trading post or a market, and a reasonable distance for you to have all of your animals herded into. Realistically, your box should have been that big. And your box ended up being, like, absolutely massive. So try and encompass that in your gameplay. Trying to keep everything as centralized around your town center and minimize villager walking distance as much as possible. The second thing I'll say is work on build orders. Your builds just, like, it wasn't very crisp. Like, you didn't seem to know, like, didn't have a plan. Like, you were just chopping wood aimlessly. You just had, like, random amounts of villagers gathering random amounts of arbitrary resources, and we're just kind of, like, getting just gathering resources. Try and have a purpose with your resources, so that you have some sort of formulated plan. And if you don't have a great idea of how to do that by yourself, watch replays. That's a great resource that you can use. Check out replays on RTS Sanctuary. Check out replays on eso-community.net. There's, like, loads of replays of players doing German FFs. Loads and loads of replays. So if you need help with finding specific replays, you can just message me. I'll be happy to find you, like, 2 or 3, like, good build orders that you can follow and help you improve in that regard. And then I guess finally it just comes down to your fortress age shipments. Had you still, like, regardless of those first two facts, which I think improving your build order and improving your villager walk times, those are the two biggest things you can improve in your early game. And then it just comes down to decision making in fortress age, and you just ship bad shipments. You shouldn't ship fort, and you shouldn't ship royal mint. Like, you don't need those shipments. Those two shipments, you can never go wrong with sending 8 Skirm or 9 Ulan with Germany. Like, these first 4 buttons here, like boom, 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 boom. Like, almost every game you play German in third age, you're going to be sending a combination of these 4 shipments as your first 4 shipments. So take that into consideration and use that information wisely. Aside from that, just work on build orders. Nothing to be ashamed of. Like, certainly nobody starts out as a top tier player. So thanks for submitting your game. I definitely appreciate it, and I'll be happy to do the next one. So Z Hansen is our the player we're going to be following today. He's going to be playing the German civilization. His opponent is going to be playing the French civilization. The map is Great Plains, standard vanilla Great Plains. And here we go. So everything looks okay there. Your crates, shouldn't do that with your crates. A little bit of idle time here. Ideally, you should have shot one of your bison with like all 3 of them, especially this one that was in range, and then started gathering your crates. A little bit of a sloppy play. I mean, obviously, anytime you have 6 villager population, like all walking behind a bison to shoot it, that's not great. Middle TP, I feel like you're probably gonna still get it, even though it looked like it was a little slow. It's gonna be close. This is one of those things on this particular map that is really, really good. You are going to get it. You should already be beginning to chop your wood for your house. You could potentially get housed here, which I think will be problematic. You are going to get the first TP pass, which is good. It's always good. But here we're very quickly, like, you're going to get your TP pass. You're almost immediately going to have your settler wagons. And look what's going on here. You're still not going to have the wood to build the house. Perhaps you're just going to do you're just going to ship fills, but that's not very good either. I'm kind of waiting for like the panic moment where you're like, oh crap, I don't have enough wood. Or maybe you're just going to do a 1310, which if that's the case, which it looks like it's going to be, like this is not a very good build. I'm going to start by saying I like the fact that you're going for the middle TP. Certainly is good, but going with a 1310, I mean, look at how low your food count is here, right? I mean, you're just throwing your economy to the wind at this point, and it's really not worthwhile. I mean, you're sitting here with an idle town center for so long. Especially if you're going to do this like type of 1310 age up, the last thing you want to be doing is sending a villager out here to start herding and stuff like that. It's just not very efficient at all. So I would definitely look into just improving the starting build. That's the first thing I'm going to say, because you've been sitting here idling your town center for forever. And there's definitely no reason why you can't get this middle TP, can't fight for that, can't chop the wood to be able to get out a 17 pop age up with a TP, no idle time, everything like that, perfectly possible. So this is just setting you behind massively from the start. It is an issue all in itself. So that's all I will say for this to start with. It's not a good build, and not doing good builds is going to set you behind a lot. So that's the first thing worth mentioning. I think you get that point from watching this, and we'll move on from it from here. Aging up, starting to chop some wood. We'll see what you end up doing with that. Picking up this villager will be nice for you. Pretty decent control there, pretty decent kiting. Market coming down. It's fine. Worth noting that in builds like this where you have such low villager population, markets aren't as effective. I mean, you're just upgrading fewer villagers.
probably would just save those resources. Probably not going to be able to make the best use of that market. Worth noting, your hunt is starting to lose a little bit of control here. You haven't done a very great job of herding this. If you could be a little bit more proactive with herding this, that would be good. Getting it underneath your town center is going to be a top priority, especially against the Civ-like French, who's likely going to be making cavalry early. Going to want to be able to have a nice, safe second hunt. And you've got a couple big hunts here, both of which could be, locked right underneath your town center at this point. See how weak this feels when, you got an okay age up time, but it's not even like, some pause here, you got aged up at 3 minutes and 56 seconds, which is pretty quick. You have a TP, that's good, but realistically you could do 17 pop age up, be up 35 seconds later, and still be okay. You'd be in the same position, except you'd have 4 more villager population and you'd be aged up a little bit slower, but realistically it's going to be worth it. Just want to point that out, that you're not actually gaining that much from this particular build. 700 wood. There's merits to 700 wood. I think 3 settler wagons is going to be better, but there are merits to it. You're stockpiling a lot of wood here, chopped wood for a reason. You're sending 700 wood, you have 500 wood and you haven't spent any of it. You need to find a way to spend this wood to make it even worth just sending the 700 wood. At this point, your economy is just so weak, right? Okay, there goes a TP. You're gonna build a stable. What else are we gonna be using this wood for? So let's pause here, because this is very problematic. You've sent 700 wood, which is fine, great card. But how are you going to send the current wood? You chopped a lot of wood in transition. You've got 300 in bank, you've got 700 here, and you just spent 200 on this trading post. Getting the second trading post is nice, but how are you going to spend 1,000 wood, especially with only 19 population? How are you going to spend 1,000 wood? And even if you find a way to spend that 1,000 wood, say you make a stable and some houses and a barracks, right? That's a way to spend 1,000 wood. Making a barracks, a stable, and 6 houses, right? That is a valid way to spend 1,000 wood. But then how are you going to utilize all that infrastructure that you've made with such a weak economy? That's my biggest concern here. Realistically, you're just going to probably end up gathering that 700 wood and it's probably just going to sit in stockpile, or else you're going to end up making a bunch of useless structures for it. Namely, what a lot of lower PR people will end up doing, they'll just drop down a big string of houses, which is not really useful as well, right? You need houses, but you don't need to have a ton of houses. 700 coin coming. Okay, 3 settler wagons, I think that's a better option anyways. Your economy, you don't have the resources to get aged up anyways at this point. You still haven't been training villagers here for a long time. Realistically, your economy is just really, really weak at this point. Here comes the barracks. How else are you going to spend that wood? Yeah, more houses. That's fine. Okay, steel traps coming. At least you're making that. I want to point out a couple other things here. Let's pause. Worth mentioning that in this particular game, if you take a look at the Fog of War, barring the scouting path that you've gained here from these 2 lungs sprinting down the middle of the map, your Fog of War has been very limited, which is slightly problematic. You don't know. One of the biggest niceties of playing the German civilization are all these free cav. But if you don't know where you're going to try and raid, there are tons of free villagers here. This is at least 1 dead CDB if you know about that dead hunt. This is 100% a dead CDB as well. There's lots of already preemptively dead villagers here if you've appropriately scouted as resources. So try to improve your scouting a little bit. I know you spent a lot of time taking that treasure, which is good, building the TPs, which is good, but your scout's just been standing here for quite some time. You could be scouting out some of this black area of the map at this point. Trying to apply some raiding pressure, that's good. Got a villager back in queue. Notice how even though you got aged up at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, which is really, really early, you haven't actually been doing anything. I mean, you put your first military unit in queue at 6 minutes, which is no faster than if you would have just done a normal 17 pop age up. I'm going to continue to dwell on that because it's the most important thing worth mentioning. Your economic balance here is out of whack. It's so important at your level to have always have a villager in queue. And not consistently having a villager in queue is problematic. Couple batches of units coming out. Going to be able to pick up a nice little treasure. That's good. A lot of people will not pick up treasures, myself included. That's something that once age 1 is over with, I pretty much forget about treasures. So that's a nice little thing there. What are you doing with these units? I don't have a lot in mind with them, it looks like, just yet. Have the resources to be queuing up villagers, but they're not being in queue. Getting your units a little bit caught out of position here. Trying to perhaps get aged up. You have improved your hunt here a little bit, your hunt situation. There comes a villager in queue. Got a little bit of an army here. Should be able to save your TP. Creep with the expos first. That's not as relevant as a lot of the stuff I've been saying, but here you're going to lose a lot of HP on your Ulans for free. It's good. Keep them interested. Keep them snared as long as possible. Okay, boom. You have the resources to age. This is important. I stopped it here not because of what's going on here, but because of what's going on here back at home. Let's recap at where we are. You are ready to age. It's 8 minutes and 53 seconds. You've built a barracks, you've built a bunch of houses, you've gotten a couple market techs, and you have 2 trading posts. This exact look is replicable, preferably with a stable instead of a barracks, but that's outside the scope of the next points I'm about to make. Is all possible with having better market upgrades, having consistently been making villagers, and having not sacrificed your early economy. You have 16 villagers. That's not population, that's total villager count. You have 8 settler wagons, so I mean realistically you're at 24 villager population, which is still abysmally low for 8 minutes into the game with Germany. One of Germany's biggest strengths is the fact that they do get a 6 villager card in the third age. They fall behind almost no one in terms of raw villager population, aside from maybe Brits in the first 8 minutes of the game, which is a huge benefit to them. So I encourage you to rewatch this game yourself. Watch the first 8 minutes and watch all the holes where you're not training villagers. We'll go over the graph of this game at the end, just so that we can see those holes ourselves. But these first 8 minutes, if you can improve them, you're going to be setting yourself up for a much better position. I'm going to continue to watch the game, but realistically, there are so many things that you can fix in these first 8 minutes that will put you in completely different situations from this point out, right? So we'll continue to look at the things that you can improve on, but just know that as you continue to improve your early game portion, the earliest portion of your game, you won't get into these situations where a lot of the things I'm about to say are going to be relevant, or the things for the rest of this game will be relevant. Still doing a good job of hitting and running these muskets. Picking those off, that's kind of nice. This is another point where it'd be nice if you had a little bit more knowledge of where his hunts were over here on the side. With Germany, you're always going to have free Ulan. It's always going to be important to be attempting to apply some rating pressure. You have resources, once again, to be training villagers, but you're not. I want to continue to point that out. You also have the resources to be able to build a stable, which is very important, and you're not. Your herding has actually... Oh, there's the stable. I just missed it. Gang saw is irrelevant at this point. You shouldn't be getting it just for the point of getting it. You don't even need villagers on wood at this point. You've got plenty of population space. You have plenty of wood in queue. Okay, getting the veterancy upgrade, that's good, even though you don't truthfully have any Ulans here. This is a point I make about higher level play often, is that for this very reason, having all these extra Ulans for free and keeping them alive is very good for just this exact point, where you can get vet Ulan basically out of your stable without actually having to really even have trained any Ulans, just to make them that much better. This is risky, to say the least. If you had like 3 Corsairs or 2 Falcons creeping forward, you'd want to keep as many of these units alive. I mean, they are crossbows, they're not the best unit in the game, but they're still of value. Don't just hang them out to dry in the middle of the map for no reason. It's well into 10 minutes into the game and we still haven't crossed the 20 villager point, which is problematic, as previously mentioned. Scouting musk for him. He's making skirms. I think you should win this fight, honestly. Let's take a look at the... He's got 15 skirms, 4 goons, and 3 Corsairs. You've got 6 Ulans, 3 war wagons, 11 crossbows, and 11 skirms. At even skill level, you should probably win this fight, assuming you don't get too caught up in his building wall or anything like that. End up focusing villagers or something in the fight. Okay, taking a lot of damage for free here. 1 Ulan down for free. This isn't the best angle as well. Let's pause here. This is maybe more of a tactical moment that we can pause and look at. If you take a look at what he has out front of his base, right, he's got really great vision. He's got buildings placed actually in a pretty good spot for someone his level. This is going to be a difficult area to push, and I go back to like finding out, like, if you knew about this is such a much easier place to push. In fact, you even have vision over here, right? Yeah, you could look around the map and assume that at this point he's gathering over here. Take a look. You see dead bison. If you had scouted over here, you would know that the bison that were over here are all gone, basically. It would be... this is a much easier angle coming in from over here, and forcing a fight over here is much easier than trying to siege down his barracks or these houses and trying to force a fight here. So getting caught out here a little bit, losing some units for free, just taking a bad angle at his base. Oh, that's good, he misclicked. Got the outlaw riders on your side. I actually like this. Like, if you go in and start fighting where you've got these outlaw riders, we just saw on SmackDown how nice it is to have the Mother Nature units fighting on your behalf sometimes. Sloppy unit control. Look at here, you got a bunch of skirms and stuff sieging, some stuff not in the fight. And this is just, I mean, you just lost all of your anti-cavalry units, and then here swings in 2 Corsairs, 3 Corsairs from the back. Part of that, most of this issue is just, I mean, you took a bad angle into his base and got caught out in a bad position. Still not training villagers. And now, after that one bad fight, now you're just in like kind of an awkward situation, right? The villagers are caught out. Even though he aggroed that treasure, now he ended up being okay for him. He picked it up. Your next hunt is pretty exposed. He's got pretty strong composition. Alright, got some war wagons coming. That's good. Be able to deal with those cursors. Kind of nice. You could have gotten out another war wagon here. Kite your army back here. Don't need to fight until like these next batch of units come. Could have gotten out a full batch of 5 war wagons there. Although I don't know that it necessarily is the unit that you particularly need. Probably would have been just better off having Ulans here. Getting some nice kills here. 9 Ulan, alright. You're still a chance. Still not training villagers. You have the resources to have houses built, not be popped. Be training villagers. Alright, there's his 2 Felks. You've got your 9 Ulans coming. Got resources to spend. Make sure you spend them. Oh, should have waited for... Wait until you have everything grouped up. It's a little premature with some of those Ulans. Look at... Okay, whoa. Alright, this is a big issue that we oftentimes see low PR people have as well. Look at this fight. So you're actually in an okay spot with all of your Ulans, despite the fact that some of them got into the fight early, got a little bit out of position. The rest of your Ulans are actually coming in a really good spot. His skirms are pretty exposed. You can see a lot of them are melee, and a couple of them are trying to protect his flank here on these war wagons that are attempting to kill his falconets. But then behind that, all of your ranged units, 21 units, which are going to be adding in a majority of your DPS here, are just sitting in the back and not participating in the fight at all. And if we take a look at this fight, like, just look at how quickly the Ulans are going to melt without having anything here to help. Right? Got one. Okay, and then like here comes the rest of your units, but at this point now it's too late, right? Now he's dealt with it. You need to be able to have all your units attacking at the same time. Make sure that you always have as much of your force fighting together as possible. And now at this point, like, you're screwed, right? He's got 8 cuirassiers and all you've got is a handful of skirms and a couple crossbows. He's standing on top of your next hunt. There's nothing you can do. Okay. So lots of things that we can improve here. Important things that we can improve here. One, I'm going to take a look at the Vil graph, and I'm going to let you make the assumption that you need to make. I don't even think I need to say it. Let's turn off this guy, because he's not important. You can figure this out for yourself, right? This is the easiest graph in the world to look at the end of the game and say, was I consistently making villagers? This point, this is what it should look like all of the time, right? These are the times where you consistently had villagers in queue, and this is what this nice stepwise motion should look like. This time, unavoidable, right? I mean, you're aging. That's fine. That happens. This time, that's fine. You're aging. That happens, right? It's okay. It's okay to have not be training villagers while you're aging. What's not okay is these very long steps of time where you're not aging and you have the resources to spend and you're not training villagers. So that's the first thing that needs to be improved. The next important thing that I would suggest for you to do is just to follow more standard builds. I'm not sure that this 13 build pop age up is ever advisable with Germans. I like the fact that you got the TP, but make sure you still do 17 pop age up at the very least. It's always going to be more beneficial to you to do that age up. And those two things, refining your build just in general, and making sure that you are always training villagers, are going to improve you a ton. Now I see you typing in chat saying that you've gotten a lot better in the past 3 weeks. Great, I'm glad to hear that. If you want to submit another game, I know that this one took some time for me to get to. I'm going to try and get better about doing that. In fact, I may just start recording them all, like just at some random time and just posting them on YouTube instead of doing them after SmackDown. But improve your builds, improve your scouting, and improve your villager training. I guarantee you, I mentioned, you're at, it took you 8 minutes and 30 seconds to age. That's a pretty normal semi-FF time, but you can do it and have your vil pop be like way up here, right? Go back, rewatch the game, watch times where you could be making villagers, could be scouting more with your scout, and try to your unit composition is fine. Your card order was in general okay. Look at times where you have stockpiling resources and you're not training villagers, and try and work out how you're going to spend them. Truthfully, if you can improve the first 8 minutes of your game, the last 10 minutes of all of this talking isn't even going to matter, because you're going to find yourself in completely different situations where you have way more resources, you have a way stronger unit composition, and then you start to get into the first lieutenant through major problems with how do I spend those resources now that I'm making them all? How do I get the right unit compositions? How do I control my units, macro, micro, those kinds of things? But to start with, you need to get over the hurdle of always making villagers, keep that town center training at all times, and just watch high-level replays to get your builds down a little bit better. Once you've done that, give me another game, and I'll be happy to look at it. But that's going to do it for today. I really do hope you all tune in tomorrow for the finals on ESO Community's TV, their Twitch channel. I think it's going to be a really great series, Lord RFL versus H2O, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. So make sure you tune in for that. Other than that, thanks for tuning in for SmackDown, guys, as always.
I'm going to preface this by saying, in general, so I'm gonna generalize a couple things, because I know Incog and Haz are both like around PR 30-ish players, and so I'm going to start out by just describing some generalizations about this matchup that maybe lower level players won't know. And I obviously haven't seen this replay yet, haven't watched it, just downloaded it. These are just my thoughts to start off with. One, obviously, Germany likes to be in age 3. I think we can all agree, just if Germany in general could get to age 3, have a lot of Ulans, and have a veterancy upgrade with like an 8 skirmisher shipment on the way, we would say, okay, Germany's probably going to win. That's the first thing that I'm going to say, just in general. And from Russia's side, I'm thinking I want to avoid that happening at all costs, right? The longer I can go in age 2, if I can keep him in age 2, force him to stay in age 2, keep him trading, make him build crossbows, make him run out of coin mines, make him run out of hunts, so that he can't get aged up, or if he does get aged up, he's going to be in a really economically weak position, I'm going to feel pretty good about myself. Those are the first things that it's worth pointing out, and that's just what I'm going to preface it with. So, with that said, unpause the game and see what happens. It looks like this is an ES standard map. This is Patagonia, which I did mention was actually one of my favorite maps. I was talking about this with Ryan just on SmackDown. I used to really like this map as Japan, but could be a little awkward for other civs. But everything's starting out pretty good, looking pretty normal. Perhaps going to be chopping wood here for a trading post. No, it looks like actually you're just going to go market. 40 coin, not too bad. Yeah, and I mean, you're not going to probably be able to realistically do a trading post with this crate opening, and I think you know that. Obviously, you should try and prioritize getting the trading post, but if you can't, the market is a little bit cheaper and certainly a good alternative as well. Getting your hunting dogs nice and early. Maybe put one more villager on wood here just so that you can make sure that you have that house up in time to send your 3 settler wagon shipment without having any idle. Looks like you're going to be fine anyways. Like 2 seconds, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Everything looking good. Doing a little scouting. I think your scouting pattern is fine.
I don't think there's anything really too wrong with it. I wouldn't pick up this treasure. I hate this treasure in general. There's like probably better treasures around. I don't know if it's worth spending time on this treasure, especially when there's like this many sheep left alive. This map has good sheep in general, which is going to help you out in your mid game. I don't know if I'd be prioritizing taking an XP treasure, but like these are like, I saw a discussion about this on forums where like people were saying like, when should I run past the treasure and when should I stop and pick it up? That's a situation where I don't know that I would have stopped to pick that one up. But I also just don't value XP treasures very highly in general, which is maybe an incorrect thing for me to do. So 17 pop age up. You had a little idle time here. That's gonna happen. I mean, just because it's kind of a crummy map, we can see you didn't really make it with too much hunt in your base here to start with, so kind of crap happens. A little bit of explorer combat. Looking for, I would assume, the blockhouse, which is what you should be doing at this point. You should be looking in this location, like this location, really hard in general, like trying to find this thing coming up, because as we can see, he is putting putting this down. So keep your explorer going active. Look for that forward base, because it's almost certainly going to be here in this map. I think your explorer's a little out of position here. Like you need to confirm whether or not he's building a forward base, because if he's not building a forward base, if he's doing something slower, like 17 build pop age up, or maybe like a cav opening or something like that, it's going to greatly influence your follow-up to your play. Getting a TP, that's good. Maybe that's one of the awkward things about this map, is that the TP is always behind your base, and so you end up building it. I don't think that's like too important though, like not too big of a deal. At this point, like if you were just operating under the principle that he's playing Russia, he's probably going to play aggressively. You can see that he aged up with a 14 bill age up timing. I think that's fine to assume that he's going to play aggressively. 700 wood. Should have a villager queued up there before the 700 wood. Miner, I'm sure you know that. So this, I mean, okay, let's pause here. This is blind, right? You're just assuming he's going to play aggressive, which I think is okay. I probably would have started stable, just because in general, if you start stable, combined with Minutemen, you're going to be able to hold any pressure. You also have a pretty defendable coin mine back here as well. So if this one ever gets hairy, you'll be able to move your villagers back here and still be making cav. I don't know that I would blindly start barracks in this matchup, but I would assume you're going to build the other military building type out of this 700 wood, so I think that's fine. A little bit of raiding, good. Being active with your cav. Still trying to find that blockhouse. It'd be nice to confirm it. There it is. He's actually got 2, but at least you've confirmed it. 3 settler wagons. Training DOPS blindly. Don't know how I feel about that. We'll see how it pans out. I mean, you're committing to age 2 play at this point. I like that you've started to move some villagers back here. Getting a second TP, that's good. 5 DOPS. Not sure how I feel about that. We'll see how it ends up playing out. Maybe you like know some of his tendencies as a player, which maybe gives you some more insight. Villager, I think stable should be going down here with this 700 wood. If you're building DOPS, like you're probably planning on building a stable, like staying age 2. There's the stable. This just feels super risky to me. Like just building blindly 5 DOPS. Like you're just assuming he's going 5 Cossack, 4 Cossack, which let's see. He's gone 5 Cossack, 700 wood, or 700 wood, 5 Cossack. It's okay though. I don't think it's too bad. I don't mind it. It's just like a stylistic choice. I think it's okay. As long as you follow it up appropriately, I think it's okay. It's probably not the way I would have approached it, but I don't think it's inherently wrong or bad. Like so far, nothing really has gone that bad. 8 cross. definitely playing age 2. This is a little risky. I think you're assuming this is his only blockhouse, right? With a 700 wood play, which you can't know for sure whether or not he's gone 700 wood. With the 2 trading posts up, I think you can probably safely assume he shipped 700 wood, which means there's at least the potential there's a second blockhouse out on the map. This feels like you think like this is his only blockhouse. If I get this down, I'm in a great position. This isn't necessarily true, but this is maybe a false assumption that a lot of people would make. This is great, a good fight for you, really good fight for you. Got your Doppelsaunders in a great position. Dealt with the muskets, no problem. This is still really good. Pretty good unit control, pretty good micro. The 8 Expos feels wrong here to me. I mean, you could be aging behind this. This was great for you, right? This was absolutely fabulous. Excuse me. This is the position, like this is the position that Germany wants to be in. And these 8 crossbows, if you were assuming him to be playing aggressively, would be correct, but he's not, right? He's making trading posts, and you've killed his army. You killed 5 muskets. You're going to easily clean this crap up. This is a point where I think I would either cancel it. Now, I'm never a huge fan of canceling shipments. You do have 2 trading posts. It's about to go past this pass as well, so you're going to very soon have another shipment anyways. I feel like I would almost cancel this and be sending 700 coin, to be perfectly honest. I would transition a whole bunch of these villagers over to this back hunt to food, and I think I would send 700 coin. In fact, I would probably transition almost all my villagers over to food and send 700 coin and look to age up. Remember what I said. If you can get in a position where you're like threatening sending Ulans and aged up and in a good position, you're going to be looking really good. And he's played a pretty slow style. He's not played a very aggressive style. You can see he's got Stagecoach. He's got 2 TPs. You've got 2 TPs of your own. Great. You got plenty of military population. This 8 crossbows, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think it's going to be very impactful whatsoever over the course of the next 2 minutes, especially given the fact that you've essentially just cleaned up any sort of the threat right here. True, you still don't have this scouted, so you could like continue to play aggressive, but with what you see here, I think this allowing this 8 crossbows to come through is just a mistake. I don't know that there's a lot that they're going to accomplish at this point in the game. Killing a house, this is great. Following up your pressure. I mean, he's on the back foot at this point, right? He's rallying everything back to the back side of his base. That's great for you. You have 2 options here. You can send 700 coin, or you can send two settler wagons. Ideally, I think you would have had 700 coin come through and would have transferred villagers already, and you would be setting yourself up to like even potentially send 600 wood and just age up with like another TP and get Stagecoach or something. But that's not happening. So I think this is a spot where you're just making a strategically incorrect decision. Okay, he's got a lot of stuff. You could be, let's preface this, I'm going to stop and like looking at your resources. I'm going to make the bold statement that you could be aging with a fast age politician and be 25% aged right now. Your structure is in a fantastic position, really easy to defend. You've got Minutemen still available. You don't have anything really of value out front of your town center. Your hunt here has been a little bit mismanaged. That's okay. That kind of crap happens. You've got this hunt back here in a pretty good position. The only thing that's wrong with this look is, I mean, and this is great. You're killing more units. That's fine. But I think you could have 5 Doppelsaunders and 4 or 5-ish cav while training reinforcements. Like you could have this reinforcing one like still coming, and you could be aged if you just didn't have these 8 crossbows. You could still have 5 to 7 Dops, 5-ish cav, and minus the 8 expos and be aging right now and be in a fabulous spot. And I think from that point, the game would be over. It makes me concerned because you're going to, it looks like going to continue to fight in H2 here. Building another blockhouse in his defensive position. Maybe overcommitting here a little bit. I never like fighting against full HP Minutemen, especially with Town Center Fire. He's getting some pretty good value here. You do have him penned up against the structure wall, which is good. Even now, like, let's like stop here. Like, you've just won this fight again. Like, here's another chance for you just to age up. Like, this 600 wood could be, once again, 700 coin. Cancel these 2 Ulans. Shift all these villagers over to food. Boom. Aged up. No problem. Like, and you're still in a good position to age. I think this is like a second missed opportunity to age. Gonna stop this. Good. Harassing his villagers. It's maybe a little bit of a miss that you just missed this. It's fine. Probably most people would have missed that second blockhouse over there too. It's kind of okay. Okay, so this is definitely a mistake. I mean, so I think I've identified at least 2 locations where you could easily have sent 700 coin and aged up. I mean, this is another one where still, if this were 700 coin and you were aging up, you would be great. 5 Ulans here makes very little sense. The only time that I would ever advocate sending 5 Ulans is if your opponent is basically dead. You know he's basically dead, and 5 Ulans is just going to slam into him and seal the deal. That's absolutely not the case here. He still has a town center up. He's got 2 blockhouses. He's got some hunt still in his base. The 5 Ulans aren't going to really be able to get out on the map and really do too much. I mean, sure, his hunt is a little bit exposed over here, but he's going to be able to gather from his trading post line a little bit, switch that over to food, has plenty of resources in terms of wood and coins still in his base in a fairly defendable position. And these 5 Ulans are definitely not right. You could easily, like, that's, once again, I'm going to say it again, you could be sending 700 coin and switch a bunch of your villagers over to food and still be aging. I think this is missed opportunity, perhaps number 3. The first timing was maybe a little bit harder to see. The second one, I think, was a little bit easier, and is probably the time that most like PR 35 plus players would have pulled the trigger to age up. And this is a miss, I think, by you continuing to train units at this point. Because remember what we said at the start of the game, right? This is what Russia wants. He just had, sure, it wasn't the best fight, but I mean, in terms of unit trading, like potential, like he still killed a bunch of your DOPs and a bunch of Ulans, which are 125 coin, 100 coin a piece. Like, that's great for him. That exchange there, changing, you know, 1 0 HP Minuteman for most of the hit points of a crossbow. That's precisely what Russia wants in every single trade. And by allowing him these opportunities, it seems a little bit scary to me. Sure, he's got stagecoach TPs, but you've got 3 TPs of your own. Like, that's no big deal. His economy is going to be strong, but, I mean, not strong enough to deal with 9 Ulan, 8 Ulan, 8 skirm, 7 skirm just rammed down his throat. I mean, you've got 3 TPs. I mean, here comes these inefficient trades once again. Killing some villas, that's always nice. But still, like, militaristically wise, like, that wasn't the best trade in the world for you. Here again, you're just committing to the H2 play for too long. I think it's going to end up being the... these are the trades. This is like the perfect situation for Russia. I know it's so tempting to jam your Ulans in there, but this is like the dream for Russia. He's getting a great effective trade. He's making you feel like you have to sink even more resources into fighting him in the second age. And no, he's awkward. If you've watched this matchup before, you maybe be thinking, well, like I've seen like H2O versus Prince of Kabul. I watched this matchup in H2O play H2 Russia, but you also have to consider in those games, you know, how aggressively your opponent is playing as well. This is a build where your opponent has gone 700 wood, built 1, 2, 3, 4 blockhouses total, 2 trading posts, gotten stagecoach. If you add up all of that wood just alone, 2, 5, 1,000, 14, 1,600 wood has been spent in just structure and tech alone. Like, that's a pretty slow play. 2 settler wagons, good. It looks like you are finally saving your resources to age, but I would argue this is about 4 minutes late. To be perfectly honest. At least you're still keeping him on his back foot over here, like sieging stuff. It's good. Keeping him away from your base, allowing you to have time to age. And here comes the raid boss. Uh-oh. Take off fog. Oh, he's been fishing behind this as well. I'd want to go back and see at what point he sent schooners. So I know he sent it pretty late, right? He sent 5 Cossack 700 wood for sure. So he hasn't been fishing for long. Also doesn't have that many fishing boats, like just 10. But he has 3 docks up as well. Okay, you're aging. Great. This is a pretty late age up for Russia, though. Or for Germany in this matchup. His economy's rolling. I still don't feel like you're... Well, it's a little bit awkward. If you can get that TP, that's nice. But not at the cost of losing even more Ulans. Alright. Also in this awkward situation now where you're starting to run out of resources, that's the other advantage to aging early as well, right? If you can preserve the resources in your base early in the game, so that when you age up, you still have some resources in your base. Like if we look at this coin mine, these 2 coin mine situations, like you would have had all 3 of, like, you still for sure probably would have had at least a little coin in this back coin mine. This one would not be running out nearly as much. And you wouldn't even have to be really thinking about this one yet in this game, right? If you just look at even more resources that you're having to sink into this, it's a little bit awkward. Don't get blunderbuss just blindly. You don't need it. It's just 110 food that you're wasting. Great code is fine, but blunderbuss only tech it if you're absolutely necessary. You're going to need it. And by absolutely necessary, I mean like there's an impending Vil fight. Like you should only be getting that tech if there's an impending Vil fight, which I mean at this point there's not. So this is a miss by both you and me, by the way. Like not even considering the fact that it's a water map and that he could be playing water puts you on even more of a clock. Veterancy upgrade. Hopefully your Ulans come to this forward location. I think we can both agree he's probably over here hunting at this point. In fact, most of his economy is over here at this point. The one thing I don't like about Ulan Skirm is it doesn't have a ton of siege potential. It's not very good at sieging. Don't get caught over here either. You don't want to get caught before your 9 Ulan comes. He's aged out. Like this, I can see how this is going to be tough now, right? He's got so many blockhouses. He's definitely going to get his upgrades. 9 Ulan hit the floor at 16 minutes and 25 seconds. That is almost certainly too late to be effective. It's here now, but I mean he's going to have like Vet Musk probably at this point. He's gotten so many fishing boats. His economy behind this is great. Good fight for you, killing like as many of these units as you can kill as possible before they get upgraded, the better. But I mean, Russia just becomes even more efficient at trading once he gets upgraded units. So you're gonna get Fat Musk. Are you still gonna perhaps even win? Do you have a frigate in this deck? It's these questions and more. You don't even have a water deck. He still hasn't gotten the veterancy upgrade, which is really good for you. Alright, it's just coming now. If he's watching, like, there's no reason he should have engaged there. Like, let that blockhouse fall. And preserve more of your muskets with more HP. Wow, is this a game you can win still? Probably not. Is going to be my guess. Just because he's got so much water economy at this point. Unchecked water economy. How many fishing boats is that? So many fishing boats. 2 Falk. 32 fishing boats. This isn't doing a lot. It's first, you need to, so like at this point in the game, you need to identify his economy and slow him down, because at this point, I mean, you know, he's got 2 blockhouses. He's still gathering somewhere. And so your thought should be, after you win a fight, like, where is his economy and how can I slow it down? He's got a load of vills back here. This is the point. This is probably the point where, after I had won that fight, this is probably the first time where I naturally would have said, like, oh shit, is he on water? Because that's something you haven't even considered, it looks like, in this game. You haven't even scouted the sea, and I usually don't consider water. I don't think it would have been an issue had you aged up earlier, but now that he's aged up and you're aged up, and you've won a fight, like, this is probably the location. If I were in this exact situation, I would be really concerned as to whether or not my opponent were on water, and I would at least be like sending an Ulan up here to like investigate, and then if he was, I would be shipping a frigate, which you don't even have in your deck. Or something on water to be able to deny this. Because this would be the location, this would be the time that I would be very concerned about the fact that my opponent still has economy left alive and is seemingly building units from out of nowhere. 8 Skirm is going to be a good shipment, though. Came to the right spot. But, like, look at how much he's been able to pull together. And part of that's just because he's all over water at this point. 2 Falks. I mean, the Falks, it looks like you're going to be able to deal with them. But, I mean, this is the point. You just got too much stuff, right? And now at this point, like, you certainly have to be concerned, right? You have to be thinking, like, it seemed like he got so much stuff out of nowhere. He's got the infrastructure to get out a ton of stuff in no time. I mean, he could get 10 Cossacks and 10 Musketeers, like, within the next 30 seconds, no problem. And that's going to be something difficult to deal with. It's going to be really hard to shut him down, and the only way to shut him down is to identify the fact that he's on water and send a frigate, which you don't have, which I think is game losing in itself. Kalmuk's going to be really strong against your Bet Ulan. Yeah, I mean, this is the point where just even more crap is just spewing out of him. And I can almost guarantee you, I mean, this is the point where you're, like, considering, like, okay, like, I probably can't kill that army, like, I'm probably going to have to resign. I can guarantee you, when you do resign, you see the water, and you probably say, shit. Like, I didn't even think of that. Like, how did I let him get that much on water? Like, we're gonna wrap this all up here in a second. I'm gonna give my opinion. And I think watching this, you'll know what my opinion is going to be. the great outpost war is on for the remaining coin mine on the map. The unfortunate thing is, like, at this point, he can just basically gather only food from the sea and wood and be perfectly fine. If you had a very keen eye, you would maybe be able to look at this and see that he's on water. That's not something I would ever look at in game though. So. Yeah, I mean now he's just got too much stuff. He's pulling stuff out of nowhere. 5 war wagons gonna pop out. Not gonna be overly useful. Birchnicks, yeah, and there's the resign. And this is the point where the fog of war turns off and you realize, oh crap, he's had 40 fishing ships on water this entire time. Okay, so let's back this up. Let's back all the way back up. So at the very start of this game, I said 2 things. One from Russia's point of view and one from Germany's point of view. From Germany's point of view, I want to take as little damage from the early pressure as possible. And I want to get aged up, and I want to send 9 Ulan, 8 Ulan. I want to get the veterancy upgrade, and if I can do that before the 12 to 14 minute mark, I'm probably going to win the game. That's just the nature of the matchup. From Russia's point of view, I want to apply pressure. I want to force my opponent to stay age 2 as long as possible, and I want to have good little trades where I can abuse the fact that my infantry units trade very efficiently against all of his age 2 units. Those are basically the points that I made before I even watched the replay, before I even started it. And 2 things happened in this game. Your 9 Ulan shipment came at 16 minutes and 30 seconds, and you stayed in age 2 on your own will, basically accomplishing the second thing for him, right? So you basically played into his hands for both of the 2 things that I mentioned at the start of the game. One, your age up was really slow, and you didn't get your key impactful power cards out until like 16 minutes. And 2, you stayed in age 2 and allowed him to have these nice little trades underneath his town center for a very long time. So let's back all the way back up to the point where you sent 8 crossbows. I don't know if I would personally like open Doppelsonder. It ended up working out for you fine, and that's fine. I'm not going to comment on that because I think however you want to open up, I think openings are less important than the overall timings. You had held his pressure, you had sieged a blockhouse down, and you had pushed him all the way back into his base. All the way back, like you had him slammed up against this wall, and you had Dopp swinging away at his 13 Strelly shipment at some point. You were in a great position, fantastic position, but then while all of that was happening, you were following it up with things like 8 cross, 5 Ulans, 600 wood, non-impactful shipments. When all this time, look, you still haven't sent 700 gold, and it's 22 minutes in. You could have sent 700 coin. You could have gathered up the remaining food around your base. You have 6 fully fattened sheep. I mean, this would have been a great way to jump your way into the next stage, right? I mean, you you won the sheep war as well, which is huge. I didn't even notice this during the game, but had I been playing, it probably would have been something that I would have probably noticed at some point, is the fact that I have a whole bunch of sheep. Like, if you send 700 coin and eat 4 of these sheep, even if they're not fully fattened, say they're just like 150 food each, right? Which, like, half fattened, they've only been fattening for like 5 minutes. That's what's going to happen, right? They're not going to be very fat. That's still 600 food that you're going to gather very, very quickly, plus the 700 coin, going to be aged up, no problems. But you missed those timings. You missed at least 3 opportunities during the early game that you could have, I think, very easily just shipped 700 coin. I know it's scary, especially against Russia, to be thinking about, like, he's still sending 5 for a Cossack, 13 Strellet, and I'm sending 700 coin and trying to age, but you're going to be perfectly fine. You never were. I would rather you lose this game because he just circle sieges your town center and you missed your timing to get to age 3 than it's a 22-minute slugfest. You're both aged up to age 3, and he just grinds you out because that's how Russia's going to win. He's going to just grind you out and eventually just run you over with the efficiency of his trades. So take this opportunity to go back and watch the game again and try and identify times when you could have aged up, because I think there was 3 very distinct times during the game when you could have aged up that I mentioned. Send 700 coin, gotten aged up, and had like a really, really strong 10.5 to 12-minute timing where none of this shenanigans on the water would have ever happened. He still would have gotten the TPs up, but how is he going to deal with 25, 30 vet Ulan standing on top of his food at 14 minutes or 13 minutes, right? He's realistically not going to deal with it. One last thing, I do want to check the Vil timeline and see when he did start training fishing ships. It looks like around, the 13-ish minute mark, right? Things had basically stalemated in terms of villager population, and because you're Germany, you're actually ahead at that point. Significantly. Done a little bit of raiding. Like this is great. Like at this point, this is the time when you could be aging. Like this is about the time when you should-ish be aging, like 9:30, and you would have been in a fantastic position economically, and you would have been in a great position to win. So I hope that helped, and I think you're really close. I think you just missed your opportunity to age, but I suspect that when you get that down, you'll be good to go.